Pet Sematary Bloodlines is directed by I Don't Care, and it's currently on Paramount Plus with audio description. And I watched all the Pet Sematary movies to prepare for Pet Sematary Bloodlines, and why? Why did I do that? It's so intriguing that this is now my least favorite of the four films. But this is the film I was building up to. Like, this is the film that I was like, oh, okay, we've got it. It's coming out. Well, and it came out. The film stars Henry Thomas, David Duchovny, Pam Grier. Yeah, how about that? Look at that. It also stars some people in the younger roles who, you may or may not recognize from anything. I've never heard of any of them. And it has Samantha Mathis, who I always remember because I actually really enjoyed Broken Arrow in the 90s. And she was the female lead of Broken Arrow, the John Travolta, Christian Slater nuclear weapon movie. It's fun. It's just silly. It's way better than this. But it's fun. So what is this? What is Pet Sematary Bloodlines? It is basically, it's a prequel to the remake, and it takes place around Judson. What a name. Meet George Judson. They should have called the Judsons. Yeah, it's around Judson when he's younger and he wants to leave his small town. I didn't realize how small this town was. They actually give you like a population of like 69 or something. Like, it's just some really small number. I'm like, damn. Didn't they have like a school and a hospital? Like, where? I like, conceptually, I felt like I needed to know a lot more information because a town of 69 people definitely doesn't have their own hospital. I don't care what you say, they do not have their own hospital. I used to grow up in small towns. A town of 69 people would have to drive their people to a larger town. So they just would. It's just something that they would have to do. But yeah, it's not enough to sustain any sort of medical facility, even like an urgent care. You might have maybe like a doctor in his own house, a guy who is a doctor, and you can go over to his house and he maybe GPs you or something, but that's about it. It's an origin story that still suggests that there's still more origin to be had. So it's not really the origin story of how everything began. I feel like we could still have that movie. They could totally do like a Prey and go like way back in the past and show us like an indigenous tribe local in the area and how that land ended up becoming sacred. And did they bring back Native Americans back in that time period? Did those people come back from the dead? Were they attacked maybe by soldiers and then they brought their entire tribe back and then that tribe like savage? I think there's like a far more interesting movie than this. But this is what we got. The thing that they basically were able to tell you in all of 30 seconds in the original Pet Sematary has now been adapted into a film that is just under an hour and a half. So expect a lot of stretching. This is like childbirth stretching. This is like it's like at that level of stretching. It's like we have this one thing that's really cool, but we have to make it feature length. So it's really slow. It's slow for a movie that's not even 90 minutes, which says a lot. I was quite bored. Are there scenes in here that are creepy? Sure. Yeah, of course. There are scenes in here that are creepy. There are scenes in here that are gory. There are scenes in here where stuff happens and you're just like, whatever. What's happening? What's going on? Do I care? I don't know. Do I really care about these characters? I don't really know that I do. Um, I feel like even with the character development, I still didn't quite grasp the motivations of anybody. Everybody's just kind of like, yeah, I want to leave town. I want to go do other things. I don't want to be stuck here forever. Oh, there's a Vietnam War. Oh, your dad paid for you to not be in the Vietnam War. Uh, you know, just a lot of like random things being thrown about so that we can like shape these characters. And then there's a subplot where obviously something gets buried where it shouldn't have been, and something comes back. And that something happens to be a Vietnam veteran who, by the way, we're moving in the Pet Sematary 2 direction of having somebody who's even more high functioning than any previous iteration in the series, which is, I like it. I like that way better. The original Pet Sematary film from 1989 had probably like the lowest functioning zombies. They're zombies. I mean, they came back from the dead, so it's fair to call them that. The lowest functioning. It's just a lot more fun. It was more fun in 2 and in the remake that they had more ability. That they just came back changed. They love that tagline. Sometimes dead is better. They love to just drop that just randomly. They're like, we created this in Pet Sematary, so we're just gonna keep bringing it back. I half expected like Rachel to just show up and be like, I have a backstory. Would anybody like to hear it? Would anybody like to hear my story again? We keep putting this into Pet Sematary movies, so I figured maybe somebody. I'm Rachel. I'm gonna come into play later in the series, and I just thought it'd be really interesting if somebody heard my backstory because it's so fun. Makes no sense, but we're gonna keep putting this into films. Thanks. Bye. Luckily, it's just Judd's backstory. So, which they went into a lot less in the prequel than they did in the original film, where they actually like have a full-on cutscene, going back to showing you like what happened in the prequel. They just kind of mention it, which leaves it, I guess, open for more interpretation. And if you don't show it, then you can cast new people in these roles. I didn't really feel like that the guy playing Judd in this would ever grow up to be John Lithgow. Maybe he looks like him. Maybe he's a dead ringer for like a young John Lithgow. But there was nothing about his performance that really let me believe, yeah, this is the guy. This is the right casting. We are on point here. It is so. I'm still in this weird place where I don't feel as old as I am. So Henry Thomas having a grown ass kid who's about to like leave town as an adult just blows my mind. I'm like, the kid from E.T. has grown, has kids who are old enough to fight in Vietnam, and now this kid's going off into the world. It's I can't even just comprehend. I don't know. But he does, and that's what this is about. And it's also about somebody who came back from Vietnam, but their father decided, no, I don't deserve to have my son taken from me. This film also seems to, you don't really need to be in the ground for very long in this franchise anymore. We've given up on that. Before it was like, yeah, go put them in the cemetery and they'll come back and give it a little bit of time. Then kind of like, like overnight, the thing came back and would be there waiting for you. Now it's just kind of like put it in the ground, and as you're walking away, it's just like, I'm alive. And you're just like, damn, okay. What was that, like 15 minutes? Like, Anyway, yeah, it's they're shortening the amount of time needed to be in the ground. They're just like, why bother at this point? It's just maybe if they could just even just lay in the ground, lay on it with some dirt on top of them, just flick some dirt and be like, is that enough? Yep, okay, that worked. You know, that'll be the next film. They'll just be like, just get his body over there in that area, and he'll just come back. You don't need to bury him anymore. We're at that point in the series where we can't be bothered to dig holes. So, I don't know. It's a very weird, boring film. That's all I gotta say. It's just, I don't know how else to describe this film. I was disappointed in it. I wanted it to go hard. It didn't go hard. The previous films go hard. This one kind of, at the very beginning, it's like, well, this is what's happening. And then you just kind of back off for a long time. And then they're like, hey, let's introduce you to the characters. It's really slowly. We're going to really flesh these characters out. And see how uninteresting they possibly can become. And then shit will go crazy towards the end of the film, and people will be happy with it. I don't think people are happy with it. Do I think the film is terrible? No, I've actually seen bad films. This film is just, like, really oddly paced, and for some reason, it feels long for a film that's not even 90 minutes. Like, it just doesn't use its time well. It's not scary. It's just kind of gross sometimes, but it's definitely the element of surprise, of scares, are just not. I didn't even think it tried for jump scares. I didn't even feel like, you know, I feel like there's so many missed opportunities. There were some other, like, dead animals and stuff that nobody bothered to bury, to, like, have them roaming around. Like, we could have had dead deer that were buried, and then, like, have a zombie deer running around. I don't know, they just didn't have much. It's like they didn't even know why they were making the film, so they just kind of made a film. Like, somebody was like, here's some money, go make a prequel. And they're like, okay, what is it about? I don't care. Remember that Judd story? Make that into a film. All right, thanks. We'll do just that. They weren't really sure how. So, I'm not really impressed with the direction. I'm not really impressed with the acting. I'm not really impressed with the acting from the actors I know. There's nothing really here that impressed me. There's not a single thing. And there's nothing here that I can be like, oh, there's this really cool set. You should see it because of this. This was cool. There's some stuff that I questioned in the narration. There's one point where somebody has a gun stuck through them. I was like, is that true? Did they jam the gun through somebody? Did you ram a gun? Or, because I think they're also shot, but then, like, did the gun come out the other side? I was so confused by that little part of narration. I can't give you context, because I'm not here to, like, spoil the very, very few things about this film that you may find interesting. It's okay if you like this. You know, go you. Good for you. I'm sure there will be some people out there that like this. It doesn't seem like many. This film's been out for like 2 days and has a plummeting rating on IMDb and a very low Metacritic score. I think Paramount knew this film wasn't going to go anywhere, and they sent it to Paramount Plus instead of trying to give this a theatrical release. This was a dump. They dumped this. This was probably intended for theaters at some point, and they were like, no. Well, it'll be October. People will watch literally any horror movie in October. It's very true. So, audio description is mostly fine. I was confused. I was confused about like the conceptually like jamming a gun through somebody, but other than that, it was just the way that it was phrased, where I literally thought somebody had been stabbed with a gun, which is not really like a sharp object. Um, and then also I was like, what kind of gun? Was that, is that a pistol? Did you stab somebody with a pistol? How? How did it go through the side? Is the barrel long enough? Like, I had way too many questions about this little piece of narration that made it seem like the gun itself, not the shot, but it was the gun that was said to have gone through the other side, and yeah, very weird. So, but when there's gore, it feels the need to describe the gore. Of course, the music just always betrays every single scare. We always have the, like, oh shit, score. There's a dead body that they find with its head twisted around, and at first they don't realize that the head's twisted around, and they don't realize what they're looking at, and then they're like, oh my god. And of course, like, that's accompanied by the music being like, so I said this earlier in another film. I was like, I feel like more and more horror films are allowing their sound design teams to just absolutely ruin the dramatic effect of every single jump scare, every single score. Becomes so predictable because there's generally a build in the music, and it has to build to something. So as soon as you start hearing that score building, you're like, ah, shit, something's gonna happen. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay, something happened. I think horror films would be so much better if they just didn't have scores. Just didn't have. It would be so much scarier if if nothing was telegraphed. If it was all just like, hey, that happened. Cool. Look at that. Anyway, I would pass on this. Listen, I gave passing scores to the first 3 Pet Sematary films. Most people would not have, probably, for the 2 originals. Those are they're a little low in terms of critic ratings and IMDb, but I gave them like a slight edge. I do think the best one of the series is the remake. It's the one that does the most creative things and makes the most sense. It seems to take everything that went wrong. It still could be better. Went into a long rant about that. But this film, I don't know what to do with it. I don't even know how to save this film. I don't even have notes on how to fix the film, other than like, just don't make it. Just don't make the film. I feel like they didn't have enough for this film. I feel like this is a short, waiting to happen. This could have been like back in the day when DVDs are really popular, this could have just been like a special feature. Be like, see the 15-minute short film, Bloodlines, that's attached. Sort of like when when Vin Diesel made Los Bandoleros that was tied to the Fast and Furious universe. I could have made this. Just thrown it on this, a prequel when they released the 2019 remake. This didn't need its own film, but it has it. So that's it. It's disappointing. I can't believe I watched 3 Pet Sematary movies to come up and finally watch what I think is probably the most boring of all of them. Pet Sematary 2 goes hard right at the beginning. It lets you know it's not fucking around. Just that opening sequence in Pet Sematary 2 it's a lot. It's probably more so than any other film in the franchise has the most intense sort of, like, you better watch out because you don't know what's coming. It doesn't always deliver on the promise of that opening sequence, but it does have some stuff throughout the film. This film just starts slowly and just creeps along, and has some stuff thrown at the end where it's like, well, aren't you glad you waited this long? Not really. So I'm gonna give Pet Sematary Bloodline a D plus. I've seen worse for sure. I've seen films that like make me aggressively angry that they exist. This film's just kind of, I was just kind of just too bored to care. I don't know if it's just, I'm not angry at it. I just, like, I don't know why this is here. Like, why did you make this? It just feels so unresolved. But that's it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to break 200 subscribers this year. I do have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.